There's a way of cutting chicken legs that transforms them into a really delicious and fancy finger food. The result is reminiscent of a French track of lamb, but at a tiny fraction of the cost, and it's way easier to do. I've got just under 5 pounds of chicken drumsticks here, 2 kilos. I think this technique works better with smaller ones if you can get them. I'd figure 3 or 4 small legs per person. My cut chicken is going to go in this roasting pan, and my trimmings will go in a skillet. Step 1, grab the chicken by its calf muscle. That's what it is. And then maybe a third of the way up from the ankle, cut all the way down to the shin bone and rotate the leg as you saw. Saw through all of the meat and the little tendons that are in there until you've circumnavigated the bone. Then use the knife to scrape the meat off the bone up toward the ankle. If there's anything you failed to cut through, it will reveal itself now. Push everything down as far as you can around the ankle joint, then position the belly of your knife right under the joint there. Take your other hand and smack the spine of the knife clean through the bone. Nice. You're going to see some blood in the cut bone. It's not whole blood because it doesn't have plasma, but red and white blood cells and platelets are all made in bone marrow, so there it is. I'll show you that one more time. Grab the leg by the meaty end, cut straight to the bone, right where the meat starts to bulge out. Saw as you spin the bone. There are ropey tendons in there that can be hard to cut through, and I find the sawing motion helps get them, but you still might miss one, no problem. See, what we're scraping away here is the least appetizing part of the drumstick anyway. It's the thin, stringy part. Set the knife right above the ankle, and this is like karate chopping through boards. It only works if you do it with full confidence. Don't hold back. If you shattered the bone at all, try to get rid of any shards. They're real sharp. Beautiful meat with a clean bone in the tray, discarded ankle in the pan. We'll make our sauce with those. Once you get the hang of this, you can blast through the job pretty quick. Just take your time when it comes to hacking through the bone. If the knife can cut straight through a chicken tibia, it can cut through one of your fingers, no problem. Hey, fun fact, chickens do have fibula bones, the smaller bone that runs parallel to the tibias in our shins, but in birds, for some reason, the fibula is teeny tiny, almost like a splinter. You might not even see it because it doesn't even go all the way down to the ankle, except on penguins. Okay, enough salt and pepper to season every surface really well, and then I like a light dusting of cornstarch for this particular recipe, just a little. It helps get the skin extra crispy, and then it helps the glaze to adhere later on. Get that all tossed and coated, a little oil to grease everything. Be careful as you're tossing these around because the end of the bones are real pointy. You could stick yourself. Into the oven at 400 Fahrenheit, 200 C, convection if you've got it. We'll check on those again in about an hour. Meanwhile, we can make a quick stock with all of this bone and skin. Toss in a little oil just to get them browning. I'm on medium heat and I'll just let those get nice and golden. Over here I've got a couple bunches of green onions. Out of the upper middle portion I will cut some thin slices at a pretty angle. I'm going to garnish my plates with these at the end. The middle there is the part that tastes pretty good raw. Throw those into a bowl and save for later. The bottoms and the tops I'll just roughly slice up and use for my stock. I'll also grab a few garlic cloves, smash and peel. It's all getting strained out, so no need to chop pretty. Give those ankles a stir. No worries if the good brown stuff sticks to the pan. We'll dissolve it in a minute. It'll seem like the veg isn't going to fit, but give it a second to cook down, and it will. Keep stirring, get some brown on everything. Not too much. I've definitely been too aggressive about this kind of browning in the past, and you end up getting some burned notes in your sauce. That's good enough. I'll make some room and squeeze in a little tomato paste, stir and brown that a bit, and then you know it's time for half a bottle of white wine, though you could certainly just use water. I'll scrape the bottom of the pan real good. This is not necessary, but I've got some cheap dried mushrooms, so I'll throw those in just for flavor, and then top off with enough water to submerge. A little salt and pepper to start with, bring the whole thing to a boil, reduce to a spirited simmer. And yeah, now I got a moment of me time. I'm trying to get myself back in shape, and the good thing about kitchens is they almost all have a place where you can do dips. I hope this impresses Jose, my personal trainer from the sponsor of this video, Future. I've been working out for 25 years, but I could use a little extra motivation and accountability right now. I went to Future's website, I told them what I like to do, what equipment I have available, what I like in a trainer, I want logic and science, and they matched me with Jose. They also sent me a welcome box with an Apple Watch inside, which monitors my vitals, so now Jose knows exactly what I'm doing or not doing with my body.
Adam, my man, good morning, good morning, good morning.
He sends me workout plans, I follow them straight off the app, I take videos with my phone so he can correct my form. Since it's all remote, this is way more affordable than traditional training, and they'll design a plan for whatever gear you have available. Fitness noobs with nothing are welcome. Use my link in the description to try your first month of Future for just $19, cheaper than most gyms. Tryfuture.co/Adam. Your first month is just $19. Thank you, Future. And I'll need some carbs to power those workouts, so into about a quart of salted boiling water, I'll whisk a cup of cornmeal, 150 grams. I'm making polenta today, though mashed potatoes would be great instead. That's just under a liter of water in there, which probably isn't enough, but you can always add more later. Take the heat all the way down on that, cover, and just let it sit for at least a half an hour. Let's roast some carrots with the chicken. I've got like 2 pounds of these beautiful tricolor carrots on the small side, so the little ones I'll just roast whole. Long ones I will cut in half. Long and thick ones I'll cut in half and then bisect the thicker top end. Just under a kilo of carrots there. God, I love carrots. The chicken legs I've roasted for an hour. They're cooked. You could eat them, but I want them to be really soft and crispy. Dark meat you can quote-unquote overcook, and it basically braises itself. It just gets softer and, I think, better. Now that everything is released, I'll make some room on the other end of the tray and dump in the carrots. It's totally fine if they're all piled on top of each other. A little drizzle of oil on those and a pinch of salt, toss, and then I don't want the chicken piled up on itself. I want each piece to brown, so I've got the meat spread into a single layer. Back this goes to roast for another half hour. My quick stock has been simmering for just under an hour. I topped it off with extra water once or twice, no need to get it reduced. Time to strain, sieve in a bowl, dump everything in, really squeeze the stuff with a spoon to get all that delicious juice out. Discard the solids and give the pan a quick rinse just to get out any chunks. That was a quick stock, but still, check out all the gelatin. Nice. Back in the pan, bring to a simmer. From here, I am following the Chinese-American restaurant playbook. Soy sauce, honey or any sugar, vinegar, and cornstarch. I'll dump a couple tablespoons of starch in here, a tiny splash of water, and then just use my finger to work out any lumps. Get all the starch granules dispersed. If you don't start with a smooth slurry, it's going to clump. Stir briskly as you drizzle that in. That was too fast. I'm going to have some lumps now. Drizzle slower than I did. I certainly won't use all that slurry, but it's nice to have extra so you can adjust. Bring it to a simmer, it'll thicken right up. Cornstarch will get me the shiny, glossy vibe that I'm after today. I'll splash in some soy sauce. You could use Worcestershire, or you could just use salt, but I like the darker color. A splash of any vinegar you like, or you could use lemon juice. Summon forth the upside-down bear, or use corn syrup, or just plain sugar. A lot. This is going to be a glaze, not a sauce. There will be proportionally very little of it on each bite, so it should taste way too strong on its own. I think it needs a little more salt, so I'll give it some more soy sauce. And at this stage, it should look a little bit too thin. It's going to thicken a ton by the time we actually eat it. This is too thick. I ended up having to water it down a little bit later. My carrots are like 2/3 of the way cooked, which is how I want them. They got a half hour in the oven. The legs got 90 minutes. Any more than that and they would get too soft. They'd fall off the bone. Nice blonde color on those. Dark brown on chicken skin tastes burned, IMHO, and swirl them around in the pool. A nice first coat of glaze on each of these. If you glaze them one at a time, you can be gentle and avoid knocking the meat off the bone. Plus, you can keep that upper handle of bone nice and clean. This is a finger food, after all. This first coat of glaze will kind of harden, and then you can give them a second coat right before you eat, resulting in a lacquered effect. They're way too hot to eat right now. They can just sit there on low and keep warm until we're ready. The polenta is super soft and creamy. I'll drop in a few tablespoons of butter to enrich it, season to taste with salt and pepper. You could use cheese if you wanted, and whisk in more water if you want, keeping in mind it's going to firm up a lot as it cools. The carrots need a little more cooking, and there's lots of great flavor in that tray, so turn on the heat, throw in a little water, scrape as much brown stuff off the bottom as possible, let the carrots soften to exactly the tenderness you desire as you reduce that liquid down to a glaze. Gorgeous. Vegetables tend to go cold before everything else does, which is one reason I try to finish with them. Actually, everything is sitting in warm pans right now, which would make this a great buffet-style meal for a small gathering. People can just swing by and serve themselves. I'll get some of that polenta on my plate, a few of those glazed carrots, and the chicken I'll give one final glazing before I set it on my plate. Sprinkle on some green onions, and that's basically wings, but fancier and way meatier. The meat pulls away from the bone real easy. Most of the yucky sinew is just gone, and you can't go wrong with carrots roasted in chicken fat.